Hello and welcome to SULKNATIONtv. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the 5 reasons that you should buy a CL9 Honda Accord Type S. Now, yeah, the elephant in the room, or not in the car, the elephant no longer in the car, whatever. Ed isn't around at the moment. He's still not back on camera. He will be soon. He's recovered from the virus. He's now getting back into the swing of things with his job, which he started a new job just before the virus. Wear a face mask, wash your hands, be a good boy or girl. And yeah, you know, this isn't his biggest priority at the moment. I mean, getting himself back working properly and seeing his son is more important. So that's totally fine. But he will be back. He hasn't left the channel. He will be back. The S2000 will be on the screens again soon. And all will be well in the world. Now let's get into those 5 reasons. So reason number 1, which is the reason that I went and actually sought this car, is the looks. Now, the aesthetics of the European domestic market performance model, the CL9 Honda Accord Type S, looks stunning. Now, not all of them have the factory spoiler. I don't know why. Some of them have a lip rather than a spoiler. But this car, from every angle, looks stunning. Like an actual car. It doesn't look like a bubble blown from a child's toy that's had wheels stuck on it, like a Citroen C3. It doesn't have that horrible just box shape that a lot of cars before and after this seem to be looking. This 2005 CL9 Honda Accord Type S looks stunning from each and every angle. Tell me an angle it doesn't look good. Come on, in the comments, tell me an angle where this car doesn't look good. I'm sure you have. I'm filming. This will be released. I can't really answer a comment until the video is released. Let's not go into a Donnie Darko / Terminator world of time. The rear is my favourite part of this car. I think the rear is one of the nicest tail ends of a car I've ever seen. I think it looks stunning. It looks fat. It looks even more symmetrical now. I've got the Euro R tail lights on it. You've got that dual exit for the exhaust. It looks aggressive. It looks impressive. I think the only thing that doesn't look aggressive about this particular car, is the grille, but that'll be sorted soon as I get time to paint. Everything else, it's a stunning looking car. If you like saloons, and I'm sure you do if you're watching this video. I grew up loving saloons. My dad always seemed to have a saloon, apart from when he had a Ford Capri that he wrote off, or a Mark II Ford Escort that he wrote off on the Tamar Bridge, which was ridiculous because that was just a shunt from behind and I was in the car at that point, but that's another story. I've always loved saloon cars. This saloon car, when it came into my consciousness, I saw a picture of it on Facebook Marketplace and I went, ooh, that's tasty. So I'll do that again for you. Ooh, that's tasty. Yep, that's what I thought. And then I went and had a look at it in the flesh and went, oh, this is a gorgeous looking car. Other than the ridiculous arch gap, which blows my mind on the standard car. Why would you have that much arch gap? Firstly, it's not a Subaru. It's not 4-wheel drive. It's not meant to go off-road. And secondly, I mean, it looks like a boat. Did it handle like a boat? Well, that's a story for later in this video. But yeah, that was the only thing that I didn't like initially. Now how I've got it looking, which, yeah, it's cost me a few £1,000s to get it looking this way, and it's still changing, I think it looks absolutely stunning. I think it's one of the best looking cars that that's affordable to get into and start modifying. I really do. Number 2, well, that's going to be probably the most serious part of this car, which is the K24 A3 engine. Now, the K24 is regarded by many as one of the best petrol engines that Honda have produced. Alongside a couple of the variants of the K20, the K24 is up there. People love it. Now, I think my experience of it, if you exclude the radiator popping, which was a previous owner being lazy and not replacing one, and the issue with the oil sump that I had, which was where it was corroded, ignore those two things. That engine is incredible. It's smooth. It's fast. You can add extra power just from breather mods. You don't have to go down the supercharged or turbocharged route, which I probably will do at one point when I've got enough money. You don't have to go down there. You can build power in this engine from breather mods. I mean, out of the factory, and this is arguable because there are different sort of, stats out for it, but the K24 produces either 190 brake horsepower or 200 brake horsepower. Now, based on driving it, and before I did the breather mods, before I put the new exhaust on it, before I put the Skunk 2 Racing Infinity Stack induction kit on it, before I replaced the radiator and the oil sump, this car at 5,300 revs in third gear, according to my ultra gauge, which is meant to be very, very, accurate, that said that I produced 200 brake horsepower at 5,300 revs third gear. I'm gonna go with that, and that was pre breather mods. So with these breather mods, the bum dyno, because I haven't put it on a dyno, I don't have a sheet to print out and go, look, I can prove it. I can't prove it, but it feels quicker than 200 brake horsepower. Especially as you notice the lack of torque, so you have to learn how to drive these sort of cars. And yeah, at high revs, this definitely feels quicker than that. It doesn't feel like this car is finding it a challenge to move, because people walk past my car when I'm filming, and that can't be helped. That's where I am, but enough of that tangent. This car definitely, with the mods I've got in it now, is producing over 200 brake horsepower. I'm sure of it. My bum dyno is going to suggest 210 to 212 brake horsepower, and I'm going to just say that. People ask, I'll go about 210, 212 brake. If somebody then goes, have you got a printout? I'll go, no, I don't have a printout, because firstly, who cares? And secondly, it's about what I think it is, and I think it's producing that. And until I can afford to prove whether it does or doesn't, does it really matter? No. Am I going to let you drive my car? Unlikely. So, shh. Don't need a printout if you've got a bum dyno and you've driven enough cars, all right? Yes, it would help, but you don't need one. But the K24 is smooth when it needs to be, it's fast when it needs to be, it's aggressive when you want it to be, and everything about that drivetrain, the front wheel drive performance of this car, the transmission, everything just meshes superbly well. And since putting that exhaust on, and since putting that new induction kit in, and since doing the maintenance bits, it feels even smoother. It feels even more dialed in when I need it to be. I can see why it's such a highly regarded engine. Third, now, this one is the boring one of the 5. This is practicality. How practical is this car? Now, yes, I did recently do a how good is a modified Honda as a daily? And a bone stock version of this car, it's the ultimate daily, surely. It's definitely up there. The only thing from a practical point of view is the fuel consumption in the K24 engine, which part of the reason that my miles per gallon is poor is because of my lead foot and how I like to drive it. But the miles per gallon's pretty rubbish but it's petrol. If you want to truly have a commuter car, there's all the practicality when it comes to fuel economy. Buy diesel at this moment in time. If you're watching this 5 years later, don't buy diesel. You'll have to buy electric. But right now, other than the fuel economy, this car has what you need it to have. If you want to use it as a family car, could I fit my wife and my daughter in here? Yes. If I had 2 additional kids, 2 made-up kids that I don't have, let's call them Sebastian and Veronica. Sebastian and Veronica, my 2 other children that don't exist. Would they fit in here alongside my real-life daughter and my real-life wife? Yes, they would. You can do that. You could fit 4 fairly decent-sized adults in this car without there being too much leg rubbing on leg action. The boot is massive. It's a massive saloon boot. Of course it's massive. Mine looks even more massive because it's stripped out, because leak. It's comfortable on a long journey. The seating position, especially with this being the performance model for the European domestic market, the seats, let's say they're sport seats, they hold you in nicely. There's a lot of bolster there, they're good, but they're comfortable. The armrest, comfortable. When my arm is on the armrest in its position, I drop it forward, I'm on the gear knob, I'm at the gear stick. It's all here, the steering wheel here. You've got these soft bits here to put your elbow on if you're driving with one hand at the bottom of the wheel, which you shouldn't be doing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. I'm driving, if I'm cruising along the motorway and I'm doing this, forgive me. Please. If I'm driving along some fast roads being insane and I'm driving like that, call me an idiot. But if I'm cruising, that's fine. That's fine. I can see what I'm doing ahead. I'm not moving right now, but pretend I am. I'm driving ahead. Oh, there's a car coming up. I need to move out of the way. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Oh, I can still turn using the bottom of the steering wheel, and I've moved out of the way. It's all gone well. There you go. Doesn't matter. On a fast road, that's where you need to be careful. Reason 4 is the price. Now, yes, most, not all, most, more, well, a fair proportion of Japanese cars from the early 2000s and 90s are rocketing up in price at the moment. They're all going sky high. The Accord isn't one of them at this moment in time. Whether that changes in the next 6 to 12 months, which I think it will, is another matter. But at this moment in time, it doesn't cost a lot to get in one of these. And the potential that you get by spending not a lot of money on one of these is huge. Now, the JDM Euro R, the top spec performance model, they're still quite expensive, but we're talking, I mean, I saw one, relatively high mileage one, sell recently for about 6 grand. It's like, that's not a lot of money for what you're getting with that car. I picked this car up with 116,000 miles on the clock for 2,300 quid. This Type S does mean performance model, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. Now, yeah, you know, it's not the executive edition. It doesn't have a sat nav that's out of date, thankfully. It doesn't have, it's not the facelift model, so it doesn't have a nice sort of, you know, speedo, etc. But you get so much bang for your buck. You get so much potential, because this isn't the first sort of car that you think to about modifying. It isn't. When I went to buy this, I'd been looking to replace the R53 with EP3 Civic Type Rs and FN2 Civic Type Rs. And I think, hand on heart, I probably would have regretted buying one of those over the experience that I'm having and I've had with this. I honestly do think that's the truth. I mean, I have faltered in my ownership of this, where I've kind of gone, oh, maybe I should have just, and this is because YouTube. Oh, I want to be more popular on YouTube. Oh, I should have got an FN2 Type R or an EP3 Type R, because they're more popular cars. More people are going to be looking for content on them. And I just thought, that shouldn't dictate what I do with my car. It shouldn't dictate what car I go for. I saw a picture of this and went, oh, love saloons, love how it looks. Let's give it a drive, go up, visit somewhere just outside of Swindon. Royal Wootton Bassett, that's where I bought it from. It cost 2,300 quid. I drove it for about 5 minutes and went, yes, please. Paid for it. And I've not looked back. I've had a couple of moments where I've gone, oh, but that's been, I'm not getting enough views. That's been, and I'm not being dictated to. I had a couple of moments of weaknesses where I had a couple of moments of weakness where I thought, you know, what do people want? They're not going to want me to do stuff on the Accord. And I thought, well, fuck it. It's my car and I'll do whatever I want to do on it. So the price at this moment in time, you could pick up an estate version of this car. You could pick up, I've seen high mileage-ish examples of the 2.4 litre K24 powered Accord. I've seen them for like 1,600 quid with like 130,000 miles on the clock. I've seen other ones obviously overpriced, but I've seen this car, like, you know, roughly the same year, exactly the same model. I've seen these cars like at 2 grand. 2 grand with similar mileage. It's like, that's peanuts for what you get. You get huge amounts of space. You get huge amounts of potential under the bonnet. You get a lot of ability to change the aesthetic to make it look even more sexy. What you're getting is a hell of a lot of car for not that much money. And that's definitely the case right now. Time of filming, December 2021. That is the case. Hand on heart, the Euro R will go back up. It will start going massively back up in value. And I really do think that the Type S, the K24 CL9 Honda Accord Type S, will start going up in value in the next 6 to 12 months. I don't have anything to back that up other than a feeling in my stomach and my mind. It goes, yeah, it's going to go up in price. I'm still not going to sell it, even if it does go up in price. So, you know, there you go. That wouldn't be the reason that I'd sell this car, is because its value's gone up. The fifth and final reason is handling. Or handling. I don't know, handling. These cars, out of the box, handle well. When I bought this one, I did a video on it. I did a first drive, see how it goes. And it was like a direct comparison between my daily, which is a Golf, which, you know, that handles well because it's a Golf. It's a, you know, it's a Swiss Army knife of a car. And my previous project car, the R53 Mini Cooper S. Now, I built that car to be a B-road basher. So getting into this and taking it down the same roads at first was like, ooh. In comparison, that was the reaction. Ooh. But when you put it in context and go, this is a massive car, the way this handled blew all expectations out of the window. It really did. I had no idea how well this car was going to handle until I chucked it down some lanes and was like, even with its rally spec, you know, the big arch gap that it had, and essentially being bone stock other than the wheels, which were Riva DTMs, other than that, this car handled way better than I thought it was going to. And what I've done since owning it, the modifications I've done, so Progress rear ARB, Ultra Racing front mount strut brace, the iBack Pro Kit lowering springs. Let's throw the brakes in there as well. So my EBC discs and yellow stuff pads. All of those things have contributed to the performance when it comes to handling of this car. And it already feels dialed in. And I haven't finished though. I'm going to be replacing more suspension components in the new year because corrosion. And I want to dial it in more. I want you know, if there's one thing that is negative about the handling of this car, sometimes the steering is a little bit vague. I don't know why, it just is. I've had it looked at. There doesn't seem to be an issue with the steering other than the tracking's a little bit off. It just sometimes feels too vague. So I want to dial that in more. But I mean, I can hit a corner with confidence in this car and it performs. It handles so well. I think this car handles better than any other saloon car of the same sort of age. I would say I'd put money on it, but I haven't got any money. So if anybody's got a similar, you know, a similar aged saloon from a different manufacturer, like a German car, maybe an E39 5 Series, I'd like to see how well these two cars perform in a handling way. Because, you know, I think the way this handles isn't that far away from a car that I built to handle country lanes. It doesn't handle that differently, in all honesty. Yes, you've got to drive it differently, but what I mean by it doesn't handle that differently is it sticks when it needs to stick. You know, it just feels planted. It really does. And it's a big car. Blows my mind every time I get in it, like driving to where I'm sat now filming. And yeah, you know, it's taken a couple of attempts, which is why the car's steaming up. There's been a few distractions, but bringing it up here was so enjoyable because I can just throw it about. It's a big fast saloon that I'm just going, way, way. It's great. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please, please, please subscribe, turn on notifications, find us on social media. You know, tune into Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, 5 reasons why you should buy a CL9 record Type S. Boosh, out of the bag. And until the next time, I've been me, you've been you, and well done for that.